Hello, Level by Level Gaming, and if you've been following my series on this device up to this point, you will realize that we are to the part here where we have installed a new menu that is a custom menu that is not the original that came with this device. And what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to show you some of the problems that I had just right out of the gate from installing this thing, and what I've learned about fixing some of those problems. And if you remember, like I said, I do enjoy this new menu. I like the way it looks, the way you access everything, kind of the simplicity of it. But the learning curve, as with anything, is what we're going to try to get around today, is how to use this thing and how to get it to operate correctly. So when I first downloaded and I first put this thing on here, what I learned was that your first thing under game here is emulators. That is your stock emulators. That's what came with the system, and what just works natively with this device. The alternative emulators, those are the ones, if you haven't done so, go back and watch some of the previous videos. That is the emulator pack that we put on this SD card. Games, have no clue yet, still got to cross that bridge. So games, native screen, center screen, don't know yet. So in this video we're going to talk about these emulators, and so this video is going to specifically focus on getting the problems squared away with the stock emulators under this tab right here. So first thing you'll notice is when you download and you install this new menu and you go to CPS 1 here, you're going to get a bunch of root files, directories here that if you're like me, you had no clue where to find your games. So I went through a few of these and just kind of browsed, and not knowing which end of the elephant I've grabbed, or the trunk or the tail, I really had no clue what was going on here. So I looked through and looked through, didn't know, so I started asking some questions. I went back to the original post for this thing, for this menu on the Dingunity website, and I started asking a bunch of questions. And thank you so much for the community for answering my questions. RBG Gamer, thank you for kind of pointing me in the right direction. So if you go down here to this MNT, which I assume means mount, and you go to memory, that's going to be your internal SD card. If you go to MMC, that's going to be your external memory card. On your internal here, you're going to go to Game, CPS, Capcom Play System, and there you go. There's my internal games that work with these stock emulators. Now, first game, there you go. No problems. Let's go ahead and quit out of this. CPS 2, same thing. You have to go to your mount. You can either pick memory. Let's go to the external memory, because sometimes people, you know, especially if you're going to really load this thing down, you can put a larger memory card here. And even just to get this menu, you put it on a external memory card. So let's say you want to use your external memory here. You can go to that, and you're going to go to the same thing. You're going to go to, hang on a second. You're going to go to Mount, go to MMC, and now you can see I kind of have some other files here. I have your apps, your DMenu, your emulator. These are what I put on here in one of my previous videos to be able to just install these emulators and install this custom menu. But I did add some files here just to play around with and to be able to show you this video. And you see that I have CPS here, and there you go. There's my games. So working ROM, no problem. Now honestly, I know there must be a reason for CPS 1 and CPS 2, and there is a reason for them being separate. Why, I'm not sure. I haven't went through every single game under CPS 1 to see if all of them work under CPS 1 and all of them work under CPS 2. Don't really know why there's a difference there. I do know that there are CPS 1 games, there are CPS 2 games. They're different from NeoGeo, and I believe there are also even CPS 3 games. But like I said, I haven't went through to see if there's a specific reason why there is a CPS 1 and CPS 2. But if you go into those, you go through that whole long, tedious process, seconds of your life you're never going to get back. You can go to either one of these and find your games. Now, the question is if I don't want to have to go through all this manual stuff, how do I make these point to where my ROMs are, whether they're on the external card or whether they're on the internal card? And that is one of the questions I'm going to try to answer in this video. Now, NeoGeo, no problem. It automatically points to where I want it, and the ROMs work. There you go, NeoGeo. Game Boy Advance. Now here is another issue. So when you click on GBA, if I can get my camera to focus, GBA, you click on that and nothing, blank, nada. There's just blank lines, no games to be selected from. Something that I'm going to just kind of describe and not go through it because I'd have to reset this thing over and over again, is for the Super Nintendo or Super Famicom, the Mega Drive, Genesis, Nintendo. Those three, when you go into here, you can access the files. They point to where they need to be able to find your games. The games run, no problem with these games running. But every time you exit this one, this one, this one, I'm just going to give you an example. So let's just go with the very first one, very first game. ActRaiser. So you see we have a working game, no issues here. You can play it. I've played it, no problems. But let's see, when you go to exit, it crashes this menu. It does that with the Super Nintendo, it does it with the Mega Drive, it does it, or the Genesis, it does it with the Nintendo, the Famicom. It does it with all three of these emulators. Don't have an answer to why or how to correct that yet. If I do, you'll definitely see a video on that. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go to this reset button or power off. It's just easier to hit the reset button. Fish, 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 awesome fish, heavy on the sarcasm, not a huge fan of fish. Anyway, there you go, you're back out into your emulators. Now, it crashes like that on the Super Nintendo, the Genesis, and the Nintendo, all three. All three, you can access your games. All three of the games work. All three crash on exit. You go to Game Boy Color. It's automatically pointed in the right place. No issues there. Yeah, you access one of your things here. Go to the first one, and you have a working game. No problem. You go to quit, it doesn't crash. So Game Boy Color seems to be fine. Sega Master System seems to be fine. Game Gear seems to be fine. And Game Boy seems to be, let's see, let me just make sure. Yeah, our Game Boy's fine. Game Gear's fine. Sega Master System's fine. So anyways, if you have any problems with these, please comment in the section below, and then I can address those individually, because I'm kind of going on memory at this point of which ones work and which ones do not. So anyways, if those are the kind of problems that you're having, you're either getting blank screens like with your GBA here, you're getting these weird root files or directories, and you have to manually point it in the right direction, which you can't even do with the Game Boy Advance. Anyways, if you're getting weird stuff like that, you just want these stock emulators. You like this menu, you think it looks cool, and you just want to get your stock emulators to work here, please stay tuned, and I will cover that next.